Okay, hello everyone, and thanks for coming to the authors at Google. Today I'm excited to introduce Cherie Soria. She's the founder and director of the internationally known Living Light Culinary Arts Institute and the author of 3 books, including the Raw Food Revolution Diet. She has been teaching raw vegan culinary arts to students and teachers from around the world for 17 years and is known as the mother of gourmet raw cuisine. Cherie and her husband, Dan Letterman, also own 3 other award-winning green businesses in Fort Bragg, California. Living Light Cafe and Cuisine to Go, Living Light Marketplace, and the eco-friendly Living Light Inn. Today she will be talking about the raw food revolution. With that, please join me in welcoming Cherie Soria.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. My name is Cherie Soria, and I am founder of Living Light Culinary Arts Institute, and as Jimmy said, also the author of 3 books. And today we're going to be talking about one of them, at least the inspiration for one of them, which is the raw food revolution. There is a revolution going on all over the world, and people are surprised to know that it is a raw food revolution. We have had people from 40 different countries come to our school. Our school is still the only real raw vegan culinary school in the world, but we are busy year-round, and people do come from everywhere, places like Beirut and China and Greenland, and just about anywhere you can think of, we have had students come. Why do you think there is a raw food revolution going on? It's because we are in the middle of a health crisis, and people really need to reclaim their health. They are finding that they can't really trust the medical profession to heal them, and there is obesity at the root of many of the problems, and so it would make sense that diet would be the solution. And of course, now we have enough research to support that is true. A lot of people wonder about the raw food diet. Is it going to provide enough nourishment, enough nutrients to suit all of our needs? And that's the reason why, after teaching raw foods for 17 years, I decided to write a book that would once and for all prove that raw food diet would not only meet but exceed the needs of the human body. Because what I saw anecdotally from the 40 people from 40 different countries, the thousands of people who have been through our school, is that raw foods not only did heal people of chronic diseases, it of course helped them to lose weight, to gain energy, to feel younger, and to become healthier almost daily until their body became in balance again. So it really does help to bring you into balance. Now, when I say the raw food diet, I'm not really talking about 100%, I'm not talking about dogma. I'm really just talking about a natural foods diet that is more natural to the human body. People say, well, but everybody cooks their food. Well, everybody is sick. If everybody were taking poison, would you want to take poison? I'm not saying that cooked food is poison, even though you might hear some people say that it is. But I am saying that the more raw food you eat, the better you'll feel. Because there are a lot of things in the raw foods that you're really killing when you cook your food. Things like antioxidants, which are the first defense against diseases like cancer. You kill those because they're heat and light sensitive. So you kill them when you cook them over a particular temperature. What's that temperature? Well, it really depends on what that antioxidant is, because even light will affect antioxidants. Things like vitamin C are very susceptible to light and heat. And so we have kind of a rule of thumb at our school, and that is that we don't have anything cook or heat anything higher than about 115 degrees, even though 118 is said to be safe, because that just gives us a safer margin, especially if we're using something like an electric dehydrator, because they spike and ebb. They have to turn on and get hotter in order to bring the temperature up, and then they go back down again to a cool temperature. So they fluctuate, and therefore we just use it as a rule of thumb that we don't go higher than about 115. After about 20 minutes at 118, enzymes begin to diminish. And so you also are losing a lot of the enzymatic activity that's natural in foods. In fact, most foods contain everything that you need, all the enzymes necessary to digest the foods. Nature, of course, designs everything so perfectly. Foods are designed to deteriorate or degrade and then become compost so that the food itself, the seeds, can germinate and grow. And so they contain enzymes in order to break those foods down. And it works the same way in our bodies. We do have digestive enzymes, and the digestive enzymes in our mouth are particularly important because that's the first time that we begin to digest the food is in our mouth. So it's important for you to chew that food. Don't just swallow it. And there are no teeth in your stomach, so you really do need to chew it well in order for your body to continue digesting it and to absorb the nutrients that are there, to be able to assimilate the nutrients. If you don't do that, you aren't going to have the energy that you need. Some of the other important nutrients that are available to you, more available to you in a raw vegan diet, are phytonutrients. And phytonutrients is something that we don't really know all that much about yet. It's something that we have only recently discovered. People don't think of it when they think of vitamins and minerals. They think of that as nutrition. But phytonutrients are extremely important. And the word phyto, it's from the Greek, and it means plant. So you can only get phytonutrients from plants. So when your mom tells you to eat your vegetables, she really knows what she's talking about. You're not going to get phytonutrients any other way. And every color in the rainbow practically is covered in your vegetables. And you need all those different colors. There are different phytonutrients in every color. So what you want to think about when you're looking at your plate is you want to think about having a variety of color and have, really at least half of your plate should be raw foods. That way you're going to have enough digestive enzymes and enough of antioxidants, if you have a variety of food, to be able to support and get enough nutrition. I've been a vegetarian I have to really think about this. Became a vegetarian in my early 20s, and I turned 62 2 days ago. And yeah, pretty good, huh? Yeah, thank you. It pays. I was just telling my husband today, it really pays to take care of yourself. I'm really glad I did. And it's never too late. It's never too late. Never too late to think good thoughts, to get plenty of exercise, fresh water, fresh air, enough sleep to support good health, and eat plenty of vegetables, no matter what else you're eating. And I'm not saying give up your meat, give up your French fries, although that wouldn't be a bad idea. But better yet, I'm saying eat plenty of raw, fresh, organic fruits and vegetables. And the more you eat, the better you'll feel. And you might find that your skin will improve, your eyes will be more clear, you'll be able to think more clearly, you'll be able to focus better, you'll wake up feeling more refreshed, you'll get a lot less of those things that are going around, those flus and those colds and all those other things, because your immune system will be stronger. I wrote Raw Food Revolution Diet with two very well-known prolific writers who are registered dietitians. Their names are Brenda Davis and Visanto Molina. When I decided to write this book, I contacted them because I really trust them. They have a fantastic reputation in the scientific community. And when I told them I wanted them to prove, as I said, once and for all, that the raw vegan diet would not only meet but exceed the needs of the human body, because I had seen it with my eyes over thousands of people, they said that they would do their best to find information to support that, but they couldn't guarantee it. That they would only use peer-reviewed studies to prove the case. And if the peer-reviewed studies weren't there, then they wouldn't be able to do it. And was I ready for that? I said, yes, I am ready for that, because I know it to be a fact. And I don't have to say, in my experience, this, and in my experience, that. I want to see the scientific studies, just like all of you do. They were not raw fooders when they started out. When I say raw fooders, again, I'm not saying anything dogmatic, like only eat raw food all the time, but eating at least 50% raw food or a high raw diet. And now they are, because it was proven. And you will see that in my book. You will see not only the peer-reviewed studies that they found, and it wasn't easy for them to find them. And why do you think that is? The reason is because most studies are paid for by people who have a vested interest in selling a product. A lot of health studies are done by pharmaceuticals. And it really doesn't pay, does it, for them to find out a way that we can take good care of our health without using their drugs. And you probably know that every drug has a side effect. Every allopathic drug has a side effect. I don't care what it is. You look at some of the commercials on television, and it's amazing to me now that they can advertise pharmaceuticals on television, and they say, oh, you're going to make your hair shinier and whatever it is that they're selling. Oh, and it could kill you. And they have this whole long list of things, of problems that it could cause, and you get to have one positive thing that comes from it. Well, you can have shinier hair just by changing your diet. And that doesn't have to be a negative. It's not like a diet where it's a short-term thing where you lose weight and then you go back on your old diet again and then you gain more weight, because that's the way the human body is. It's, one of those situations where it goes into, oh, I'm starving, I'm going to have to eat more and I'm going to have to keep more of it so that I can gain more weight. But that's not what the raw food diet is all about. It's a lifestyle. It's looking at food differently. And one of the things that we do at Living Light is we teach you how to make the food taste great. And I have very simple recipes in my book that can be created by anybody in their own kitchen, just with a regular blender, a knife, cutting board. You don't have to have fancy equipment. There are a few recipes in there that'll make some crispy, crunchy snacks like crackers if you want, and you have to have a dehydrator or a convection oven that goes down to a low temperature for that. But you can start adding more raw fruits and vegetables to your diet right now. You want to know how to do that? Of course you do. You can start by having some fruit in the morning. First thing, before you have cereal or anything else, have some fruit. Think about maybe replacing your regular dairy milk, which, by the way, is made from a mother cow, which doesn't really make sense for us to be drinking. I mean, when you think about it, cow's milk was created to make a little calf get really big real fast. And that's one of the problems right now that we have with our children, is that they're drinking dairy milk and they're eating fast foods. And about 30% of our children now are obese. Of course, another problem is that they don't go outside and play anymore. Children really need exercise, just like we all do. So it isn't just one thing. But if you could replace that dairy milk with something else, and they do have a lot of things in the grocery store that you could replace it with if you wanted to, or you could learn how to make almond milk. And it's so easy. There's a recipe for almond milk in my book, Raw Food Revolution Diet, and all you have to do is take almonds, put them in the blender with a date and water, turn it on, and then you have almond milk. It's just that easy. It's easier than going to the store. And you can make it fresh every 3 or 4 days, and it's wonderful. You can pour it through a colander or a strainer to get some of the almond pulp out, or you can have it over your cereal just the way it is. Or you could use cashews or sunflower seeds. Don't worry about straining it at all. So you can make nut milks in place of dairy milk and have a lactose-free, really delicious milk on your cereal if you want to. For lunch, have a nice big salad. No matter what else you're having, have a nice big green salad. In fact, I suggest you make green your favorite color. Always make sure there's something green on your plate. The more green, the better. In fact, dark leafy greens contain a lot of protein and calcium. And those are the two things people always ask me about. Where do you get your protein and where do you get your calcium? Well, for almost 40 years, I've been getting my protein and calcium from plants. And it's worked out just fine for me. I got my 3rd black belt in karate 2 weeks before my 60th birthday. So I'm still pretty active and pretty strong, and I weigh the same as I did when I was in high school. There's really no reason why we have to get tired or heavy or lazy, I want to say the word, as we get older. we can stay just as strong and fit as we were when we were in our 20s. But food can really rob us of our energy, especially, how many of you have seen some of these documentary films that show people eating a heavy fast food diet? What's the name of that one that was so popular for a while? Super Size Me. Boy, was it shocking to you to see the change in him in only 1 month of eating at, can I say the word? A burger place? Only eating at a burger place, but how many people really do that? A lot of young people do, because there's nobody waiting for them at home. And that's really a sad thing, because that also means that they eat alone. And I think it's so important to be able to eat with other people, to be able to enjoy food with other people, and to experience the joy of creating food yourself. Because one of the things that you can do when you're creating food is you can add love to it. And everything really does respond to love, even your food. And they have done studies on that. They have done studies to find out that food and water that has had energetics of love vibration, can actually change the health or the growth pattern of a plant. Pretty incredible. There's so much we don't know. But what we do know is what you eat makes a difference. And so I recommend that you don't have to, it doesn't have to take a long time. People say, oh, doesn't it take a long time to make raw foods? No, it really doesn't. How hard is it to peel a banana? I mean, it's a lot easier than doing a lot of other things. They come in packages already, for the most part. Fruits are very easy. Salads are easy to make. That may sound boring to you, but if you make salads with different kinds of greens and different kinds of vegetables and different flavors of dressings, they can actually be very satisfying. And you can start to really, believe it or not, become addicted to salads. Now, that's a really good addiction to have. And in my book, Raw Food Revolution Diet, I have a lot of great dressings. I have some really good pâtés, which are fun to have with those crackers I talked about, or with any kinds of cut up vegetables. You can have it with your salad and really feel satisfied. Because we want you to feel satisfied. If you're not satisfied, you're not going to continue to eat a high raw diet. It has to taste good. In fact, at Living Light International, our motto is making healthy living delicious. I know it has to be delicious. If it's not delicious, it doesn't matter how healthy it will be, because taste is more important than health. To most people, it is true. It has to taste good. And so I'm all about making it taste great. And I also know that you want to have some of those favorite foods of yours, like burgers, pizza, lasagna. And so those recipes are all included in this book. And they're not hard to make. I also included some fun things to learn how to do, like how to grow your own sprouts. It's really easy to do. It takes about 5 minutes a day. And it's fun. You get to talk to them and watch them grow. Get to eat your babies. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. Sounds weird. But it's true. You're nurturing them just like if you had a garden. And so many people can't have gardens anymore because we don't have yards, we don't have time. But we do have 5 minutes in order to be able to rinse our sprouts every day, and then we get to eat them. So what I'm going to do today, now that I've told you how to add more raw fruits and vegetables to your diet, you can have a salad at lunch, you can have another salad at dinner, and then you can have something like steamed vegetables, a baked potato, some cooked quinoa, any other kinds of foods that preferably aren't deep fried, because frying foods actually creates acrylamides, especially frying starches. Creates acrylamides, which are actually cancer-causing. So you want to stay away from all those cancer-causing things and have some foods that are going to do just the opposite, protect you against cancer, because that's, how many of you are afraid of cancer? Most people are. It seems to hit indiscriminately, but it's really not indiscriminate. It's really a result of a long-standing lifestyle. It's not something that happens overnight, even though you discover it overnight. And that's true also of heart disease. And this is another protective diet against heart disease. And those are our two big killers. And the older we get, the more we want to be concerned about that. And actually, those things are being really, they're hitting our young people today as well. So I'm going to show you a recipe now. I'm going to show you a recipe from my book. And it's called zucchini hummus. Now, it seems strange to make hummus out of zucchini, but what I have found is that legumes are rather hard for many people to digest. How many of you find a problem digesting beans? A lot of people do. And hummus is usually made from chickpeas. Well, you certainly can make a mostly raw hummus by using chickpeas and have everything else in it raw, and if it doesn't bother you, that's just fine. Or you could take chickpeas and you could sprout them, one of your fun sprouting projects when you learn how to sprout in the book. Or you can actually use zucchini, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to transform myself right now into a chef. I'm not going to put a chef coat on, but I'm going to pull my hair back because I know you probably would prefer not to have hair in your zucchini hummus. So we'll do a quick transformation here. And in the meantime, I'm going to start to tell you a little bit about what's in this zucchini hummus. Really is pretty much the same as any hummus, and that is it's made with a base of sesame. And this one has two different sesame forms of sesame in it. One is sesame tahini. Tahini is a sesame butter that you can buy, and I recommend, if you want it to be the most digestible, that you buy a raw tahini. And of course, since I really believe in organic food, I'm going to be using an organic raw tahini. This tahini that I have here is my favorite brand. It's called Artisano. This is a really good brand of nut butter. It's always fresh. I started to make this for you yesterday with another tahini that I had purchased at the store. It was also a raw organic tahini, and I tasted it before I put it in, and it was bitter. Sesame seeds are always a little bit bitter, and that's why we also add lemon juice and garlic to this dish, because those help to mellow out the bitterness. So I didn't add that tahini to the hummus that I made for you. Instead, I switched brands because I know this brand and it's really good. Artisano. I really like it. I'm also going to be using whole sesame seeds. Now, I know it's very exciting that I'm going to use whole sesame seeds here. These sesame seeds are not hulled, although you could use hulled sesame seeds. Hulled sesame seeds, though, because of the hulling process, won't sprout for very long. They're weakened by the hulling process. So rather than using the white ones, I use the brown ones, and they would actually sprout. So I'm soaking them in water to add life to them. By soaking them in water, I'm removing something called enzyme inhibitors. That means it will inhibit your digestion, and that's why a lot of seeds and nuts are hard to digest, because they have this coating, brown coating around the outside that has mild toxins that keep mostly insects from attacking them, but also keeps them from sprouting before it's too soon, because when they're wet enough, and the water flows off of them, it washes off those enzyme inhibitors so that they can sprout. And so now this has become a germinated food, a germinated seed, because it's been soaked in water, so it's been given life. Therefore, it's a living food. Before it had water, it was a raw food. Now it's a living food. So we're going to be creating a living food by adding our sprouted sesame seeds. So we're going to have both tahini and sprouted sesame seeds in here. We're also going to be using, as I said, zucchini. And because I don't want to have a green hummus, I'm going to peel my zucchini. Although, if I were making it home, I probably would not get rid of that green skin, because the green skin, even though it has a little bit of bitterness in it, it's high in protein and calcium. So I always save the skins and I put them in juices and smoothies and things like that, because I have this idea that food should look like what I'm calling it. I'm calling it a hummus. I want it to look like hummus. I don't want it to look like spinach pate, which is what it would look like if it were green. So I really believe in when I'm going to mimic the flavor and texture of something, and I will also want to mimic the appearance of it. And that's some of the things that we teach at Living Light. So I will be adding a peeled zucchini, and of course, all you need for that is a peeler. And if you don't have one, then don't peel it. No big deal. All right. I'm going to be adding some of the other flavors that you would expect in in a hummus, and that would be lemon, as I told you, and garlic. I'll also be adding just a pinch of cayenne a little bit of paprika. I really like paprika in hummus. It gives it a little bit of a pink color, but it's very pretty, and it adds a nice flavor. And cumin. And cumin is one of the most popular flavors in the world. In fact, after salt and pepper, cumin is the most popular spice. Is anybody surprised at that? Well, it's popular in all of Latin America, and that's a huge combination of countries. It's also very popular in India, and think about how many people there are in India. And also in a lot of Asian countries. So of course it's going to be a popular spice. So this is a Middle Eastern dish, and I'll be adding cumin to that because they like it in the Middle Eastern countries, and of course some salt. And I'm just going to talk you through this as I go. We'll put I'm making this in a regular blender. Truth be told, at home I use a large high-speed blender called a Vitamix. I really love my Vitamix. But blenders are kind of like sex, you know? I know that sounds strange, but you can use this one. But once you have a Vitamix, you really never want to go back to the other one. You know? So I've got my Vitamix at home, but I just wanted to prove to you that you don't have to have a Vitamix in order to make this dish. So I'm just going to cut up a cup, and that's how much you have in your recipe, as you'll see. And those of you who have the book, you have the recipe in your book. If you don't have the book, then I can give you a recipe because I did bring some with me. So I'm just going to measure out a cup of chopped zucchini. And you know, this isn't rocket science. If it's a cup and a quarter, or you know, if you don't have a large enough zucchini, it's not going to be a big deal. So we've got a cup of zucchini there. And we're going to put that in. Zucchini is a high water content food. So you can go ahead and put that in the bottom of your blender. It's going to blend up. As long as they're chopped enough, it'll blend up just fine with a little bit more liquid. With Vitamix, I could have just stuck the whole thing in there, and it would just chop it up for me. So that's a nice feature. Now, because I am using a regular blender, I'm going to add my other liquid ingredients, which is lemon juice, and I have that pre-measured for you. And really, if you don't even have to have a fancy juicer to make lemon juice. You can just have a little reamer like this, cut it in half. It's pretty easy. And about 1 lemon is probably what you're going to need. Again, it's not rocket science, but so it's going to depend. I am adding one thing that I didn't tell you about, and that is flax oil. The reason I'm adding flax oil, I don't really have to add oil to this, but I'm adding flax oil because flaxseed adds omega-3 fatty acids to our diet. And so a little bit of flax oil every day or some ground flaxseed is really health promoting because you need to have those omega-3 fatty acids. People think that you can't get them from anything but fish, but that's just not true. Fish have to get them from vegetables and it goes down the line. You know, they start by eating the sea vegetables, and that's how they develop their omega-3 fatty acids that you think you have to get from their flesh. But it ain't true. You can get it from flax, you can get it from hemp seed, you can even get omega-3 fatty acids from walnuts. So you can enjoy a handful of all those things every day. I'm going to be adding some garlic. How many of you like garlic? Oh, of course, all the hands go up. How many of you don't like garlic? Okay, I made some special hummus for you yesterday with no garlic in it. All right, so I'm going to add some garlic to this, and the recipe says 4 cloves. You know, garlic was not all garlic cloves are treated the same from birth. Some of them get really big, and some of them are really small. So as a chef, you just kind of have to learn that if you see a really big one, you know, it might be really like 2 cloves of garlic. Don't just put 4 cloves of garlic in because that's what it said. My cloves of garlic were pretty big, so I'm using 3. All right, so there goes the garlic, and now I'm going to start adding some of my other spices. I have to add some cumin, and the recipe calls for only a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. If you are a cumin lover, then add more, of course. I would not stop you from doing that. And I'm going to add a little bit of paprika, and if you don't like your cumin or your hummus to be kind of on the pink side, you can leave it out. You don't have to add it. I'm going to add a pinch of cayenne, and if you like it really spicy, add all you want. I'm also going to add some salt, and it calls for a teaspoon. You might hold a little bit back on the salt just to make sure that you want that much. You can always add more salt if you want to. I always hold back on salt until I taste it because you never know. Sometimes a particular vegetable will be grown in soil that's higher in sodium. And that means the vegetable is saltier. You might not taste it when you're eating it, but then when you make something out of it and you add a normal amount of salt, it's too salty. And it wasn't last time. So always hold back on some of those things. That's a good idea. All right, so I think I've covered all of my spices now. I put in paprika, salt, cumin, cayenne, and flax oil, and lemon juice. And so I'm going to give my blender a little head start before I add the two different forms of sesame seeds, because they're going to make it thick. And I want this to blend to a liquid first. So excuse the sound for a minute here. All right. Whoops. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's liquefied. And now we're going to add our sesame seeds. I'm going to let the sesame seeds become nice and creamy before I add my tahini, which is just a little trick that really works well so that it can blend better in a regular blender. You wouldn't have to do it in a Vitamix. You could just add everything at the same time, actually. But we're going to do it because we have it in a blender. Regular blender. One of the things that you want to be aware of, the difference with a regular blender and something like a Vitamix or any of the high-speed blenders, is that you just have to make things in smaller batches. This is a nice small batch. The recipe in the book and the recipe that I'll hand those of you who don't have a book is a small batch. This is the same size. But if I wanted to double this batch, I should make it twice. Don't try to double it in this. With you and your Vitamix, you can make 3 batches if you want.
Hummus in the Vitamix.
All right. That looks nice and smooth now. And notice when I'm working with a spatula inside of a blender, I'm really careful about where I'm holding the spatula so that I really can never go as far down as the blades. That's really important. You never want to go as far as the blades, because if I touch my spatula to the bottom of the blades, it's going to be all torn up, and that's not going to be very tasty, let alone not very good for people to be eating that plastic. So there it is, and I'm going to bet that you're going to want to taste it, aren't you? Of course you are. So what we're going to do now is set this aside. Excuse me. Here I am. And I'm going to put some of this on the crackers I was telling you about. So these are flax crackers, and they're made from whole flax seeds, golden flax seeds, although you could use brown flax seeds, and also ground flax. And flax becomes very gooey when you put it with liquid. So consequently, that acts as a binder. And it also dries totally crispy. So just to show you, listen, hear that? All right. It has that nice crispy, crackly sound. I'm going to put that aside because I know you all want a whole one. And what I'm going to do so that you don't have to dip it is I'm going to place it in a piping bag or pastry bag. So if you just put a pastry bag, and it has a little tip on it, a little tip like this, right? You can put on inside the pastry bag. Fill it up, so you just take it out of the blender and pour it in, and I already did that with what I have here, so I don't have to take the time to do it. And then I can just close it up, press it down into the tip, just like that. Okay. Then kind of feed it into the tip, just like that. So it makes it a lot easier to serve. And I'm going to ask my assistant that's right over here on the side. Her name is Kirsten Gum. And Kirsten, come on over here, Kirsten. Kirsten is a graduate of our training, and she is a local girl. She lives here. And Kirsten actually is a TV personality. She has her own television show on the Travel Network called, you want to tell them about it?
It's called Treasure Hunter Kirsten Gum. I've been in television for about 15 years or so, and yeah, check it out. You know, depending on your cable, it depends when it's on here in the area. But I'm a recent graduate of Living Light. In fact, I just returned back to Santa Monica Friday night, late Friday night, and I will be teaching classes around town. I've got some business cards for you all. It's a great party. I was telling you, it's great to have couple groups together at home. I'll come to your home. I'll teach you how to make any raw food you want. And I'll have you classes around the area as well to teach you how to love kale. I have a huge love affair with kale right now. I mean,
you know, a lot of people don't realize how great kale can be. That's one of the things that we teach you is how to do great things with common vegetables. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take this over to the side. You've got gloves, I know.
Yep.
And Kirsten also made a special treat for you.
Yes.
And she made some brownies. Remember I told you that walnuts are also high in omega-3 fatty acids? Well, she made some walnut brownies for you. And again, they're raw, but they're going to feed that hunger that you have for chocolate. So she's going to finish that and start passing them around. And in the meantime, I would just love to answer any questions that you might have. Okay.
So I was just looking through some of the recipes here, and I noticed that you don't use vinegar and instead use like lemon juice instead. I was wondering, is there a reason why vinegar is not used in raw food, or is this just a preference in the recipes?
That is a very perceptive observation on your part. It is true, we do not use vinegar. I've been teaching for vegetarian cuisine for about 37 years, and I don't use vinegar because I have found that many people have adverse effects to their digestion when they ingest vinegar. And they don't even realize why. They're feeling bloated. It interferes with the digestion, and they start to feel bloated. They can actually get gassy feeling, and then if you're feeling that way, it also means that your food isn't digesting well, it's fermenting in your body, and you're not going to get all the nutrients you need. So oftentimes people won't sleep as well. There's a lot of different kinds of symptoms that you could feel when you don't digest well. You could get stiffness in your joints. So yeah, we use other kinds of acid foods like lemon juice, lime juice, orange juice, which is both sweet and sour. And that's nice, especially for dressings and things like that. Whenever you use lemon juice, you always end up using something sweet to counterbalance the acid. So it's nice to have orange juice. Works both ways. Another thing that you can use is tamarind paste, which is beautiful in dressings. You can use berries, which are both sweet and sour. So yeah, you're right. We do not use vinegar. Good. Another question in the back.
I was just curious of what you use for actual meat for like increasing your red blood cell counts with regards to anemia. I mean, I know soy is good, but for premenopausal women, there's so much estrogen in soy. So if there's a problem with soy, what do you recommend?
Okay, so the question has to do with red blood cell count, and particularly for premenstrual women not wanting to eat soy products. On a raw food diet, we don't recommend soy because you can't eat soy without cooking it. So it wouldn't be something that I would recommend anyway. I went through menopause as a vegetarian, as a vegan woman, and most of my vegan women friends, like myself, went through menopause with hardly even a blip on the screen. I had about 5 hot flashes, and they were actually quite humorous because I was taking off my clothes when everyone else was putting theirs on. But other than that, I had no symptoms whatsoever, and it was over with in a few months. So I didn't worry about red blood cell count, but that's because I was already on a good diet. So I would recommend get on a good diet right away before you have to go through all of that. And if you're in the middle of it, a good diet will help. And eat some foods that are higher in iron. You might want to continue to eat some whole grains during that time, cooked grains, of course. You can't eat grains without cooking them, other than wild rice, which you can soak. But that's not a particularly high iron food. You could have figs, like dark mission figs, any of the deeper, darker figs, and of course beets. And the red, deep red colored vegetables are the ones that you want to eat. Okay? Who else has a question? All right?
Is there something detrimental in, say, tofu? Whether, I mean, you don't use it because it's not raw or alive, but is it just filler? And
No, tofu is very high in protein, and the problem is just like with anything, when you're eating a lot of something, you're giving up other things, and it's very filling. And so you're less likely to eat more vegetables. But in Asia, people do eat tofu, and they eat a lot less meat, and they're better off eating the tofu than eating meat. But you don't need to eat tofu in order to get your protein and calcium needs met. Not at all. But you certainly can eat it.
but your body only needs so many minerals and nutrients per day, right?
Well, yes, your body does only need so many nutrients and vitamins and minerals per day, but it needs to have those met. And there are some that are really trace, that you only need a tiny bit met, but they only get them from certain foods. And so you do need to have a variety of food in your diet, and you don't want to just depend on one thing to get it all. So a variety of raw, fresh, ripe is important with fruits and vegetables. And I also recommend organic. Okay? Who else has a question? Are you enjoying your hummus? Good, good. All right. Another question in the back here?
Are there spices and things like that that you would not recommend because they have been processed?
What spices would I recommend that have been processed? Well, when it comes to things like spices, we use such a small amount that it's not like your major food. So I use spices, I use miso, and I use all different kinds of spices, including the pungent spices like onions and garlic and chili and ginger, mustard and horseradish, because I know people love those flavors. They add drama. They add excitement to food, and food has to be exciting. And you can't always find those things organic, and when you buy something like cumin, you might find it organic, but you don't know that it has been dehydrated at a low temperature. But it's such a minute amount, I'm just not that dogmatic that I worry about it. But when it comes to the foods that I eat on a daily basis, like all my fresh fruits and vegetables, I buy those organic. And at our school, there are things that we just don't have because they're not available organic. But because we're here in California, fortunately, we do have a wide variety of fruits and vegetables available to us. And then we teach people who come in from other states and other countries how to make substitutes. If asparagus isn't in season, what can you use instead? And if you can't get zucchini, what could you use instead? So there's always variations. One of the things that we teach students right from the beginning, and this is, I think, so important, and that is what flavors are important to include in foods. There are 5 flavors, and so we teach people about the 5 flavors and how they impact each other. I talked about it a little bit when I said that, for example, if you're going to have something that is bitter or sour, you need to have something that is sweet to balance it out. So if you understand the 5 flavors, and when you taste something and you say, well, that's a little bitter, then you know what to add to it so that you can bring balance to it and you lose the bitterness and have it develop into a good tasting dish. And it also helps you to be able to go into your refrigerator and open it up and see what's there, see what's available, and be able to make something. Because you know, okay, I need something that's sweet and something that's sour and something that's dramatic, and whatever I happen to have will really work. We teach gastronomy, which is the science of tasting, so that when you taste foods, you really taste them, instead of just eating and not even thinking about what you've eaten. But really taste the foods and try to figure out what's in it. And so that way you can start to create your own recipes, or if you're looking at a recipe book and you can tell just by looking at it whether that's really going to be good or not. Okay, well, I don't have peppers, but I have this and I can use this instead. So it really does help to understand what makes food delicious. And I have another question.
If you're allergic to nuts, what's a good substitute for?
Okay, the question has to do with nuts. If you're allergic to nuts, what's a good substitute? A lot of people who are allergic to nuts are not allergic to seeds. Many people who are allergic to nuts can eat, for example, pine nuts, or they can eat sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds or sesame seeds. And so certainly you can substitute that, and that would be great. I want to leave you all today with an invitation to come up to Northern California and check out our school. We have some information if you're interested in that. We're in a beautiful area of the world, Northern California. It's right on the coast, on the Mendocino coast, which is just beautiful. We're nestled right on the beach. In fact, you can walk to the beach on your lunch break at school. Our inn is only 6 blocks away. So you can stay at our inn. It's all organic mattresses, organic sheets, and we have a full house water filtration system, and we have a raw food kitchen. And the students love to get together there, study together, make food together, and walk to school together, which is only 6 blocks away. It's a beautiful little town. It's in an area where there are organic farms and redwoods, and you might like to just come and have a vacation there. And if you choose to do that and just check out the school, you could come up during our expo, the 4th weekend of August every year. We have a world-class expo in our facility. We have an 8,000 square foot facility that doesn't include the whole courtyard where we have exhibitors talking about their products, and you can learn from 50 different speakers who are mostly authors and celebrity chefs that we bring in to teach about health, about the environment, many, many different subjects, even pet health, for example, which is something you might not expect. So it's a really great event. It's a 3-day event, and I have flyers about that. You can check out our website, rawfoodchef.com, for information about the school and the inn. We have a cafe, we have a marketplace. You can shop online for a Vitamix or any other kinds of equipment that you might need for your kitchen, and of course our expo. So I invite you all to come up, and we'll be happy to give you a tour of the school, and Kirsten can teach you some local classes here, or you can come up and learn how to be a raw food chef at our school. So really appreciate being here with you, and I just have a couple minutes left for any other questions.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow, this is a good question. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Santa Barbara, and I'll be teaching a full day Fundamentals of Raw Living Foods course, which is the first class that we teach at our school, and it is a prerequisite to all the other courses. Don't think to come to our school you have to want to become a professional chef. In fact, the majority of people who come to our school don't come for that reason. They come because they want to learn how to make healthier meals for themselves and their families. And the longer they stay, the more confident they feel and the more likely they are to realize that that is an option for them if they wanted to change their career. Not that I'm suggesting any of you at Google do that. But at least to be able to share this with others as well as with yourself and your families. So yes, tomorrow I'll be teaching a Fundamentals of Raw Living Foods in Santa Barbara. And then I invite you all, as I said, to come up to our expo in Fort Bragg in August. Okay, thank you all for having me. Thank you.